Koei Tecmo's Nioh 2 is here, and to the surprise of no one, it has some pretty tough bosses. Most bosses appear in the main missions and resurface later in side missions. Others serve as the final test for Dojo Missions and can have different weapons despite their overall tactics being the same. And yes, there are a few familiar faces from the first game as well. Who's the toughest of them all though? Let's find out, starting with the weakest. Mumyo. Don't let the switchglaive fool you. Mumyo is a pretty big pushover. Encountered in the Dojo mission Sharp Eyes for testing one's switchglaive mastery, Mumyo is pretty passive. It's easy to just switch to high stance, attack, and then back off, avoiding any of her attacks in the process. And even if she does connect, the damage isn't anything drastic. Kaiji Maeda. There are quite a few strong spear wielders in Nioh 2. Kaiji Maeda is not one of them. Fought in the Bravest of the Brave side mission, his attacks have very little reach. Weakening his ki is also stupidly easy. If you want to hammer him down before executing finishers, then go for it. Maeda has decent damage, but much like Mumyo, it's nothing to worry about. Shisenen Kosen. You'll battle Shisenen Kosen for a number of different dojo missions while mastering the Kusurigama, Odachi, and Sword. He's fairly easy overall. Just wait till he finishes a combo and lay down some damage. The Kusarigama mission may be ever so slightly tougher thanks to his range, but it's still simple to corner him and set up finishers. Kato Danzo. Kato Danzo has magic, he has ninjutsu, he even has a flying sash and a neat grapple. Other than that, he's woefully unprepared for close combat. You'll find Danzo in the dojo mission The Way of the Ninja Veteran. Go in hard and fast, dodging his magic bombs and stagger him repeatedly. Tsukahara Bokuden. Tsukahara Bokuden is another dojo mission boss, but still relatively easy to beat. When fighting with a spear, poke and prod from a distance with mid-stance attacks and follow up with a finisher when he's out of ki. Avoiding his attacks is also super easy. Ashikaga Yoshiteru. Yoshiteru will be your test for the dojo mission Master of the Dual Blades. Despite some decent toughness, draining his ki and staggering him isn't too hard. Bait his attacks and follow up, avoiding his overhead strikes. You need to also avoid getting cornered or running out of ki, but even if Yoshiteru hits you with a finisher, it isn't the end of the world. Sakura Kintoki. Want to master the axe, whether it's the two-handed version or the dual hatchets? Sakura Kintoki is your man, challenging you in these dojo missions, and his approach varies ever so slightly for each. The axe fight requires you to avoid his hits, which is easy enough, but also be mindful of his charge and grapple. The dual hatchets fight is easier. Simply wait until he throws his hatchets, taking cover behind the trees, and then follow up. Shibata Katsui. Finally, a humanoid enemy who has some fight. Well, kind of. Shibata Katsui isn't too much danger alone. It's dealing with his minions, especially the heavy axe wielder, that can be annoying at first. Go for the ranged damage dealers and the heavy, then focus all your damage on Shibata. He should go down fairly quickly. Don't worry though, he'll be back. Imagawa Yoshimoto. Imagawa Yoshimoto may seem threatening enough with his guardian spirit that calls down lightning and his spread of arrows. Fortunately, the first is easy enough to avoid, and the second can be blocked or dodged with impunity, like the feral form burst counter. Even his dual sword attacks are easy to predict, though there is a slight delay between each that can catch you off guard. Yatsunokami. A giant snake with two smaller snakes for arms. Thankfully, despite this, Yatsunokami is a straightforward enough fight. You can burst counter its head attack with the right timing, but it's important to avoid his tail swipes and attack the body. Another huge opening shows up when it sends its snake arms into the ground to attack you. Simply run diagonally to avoid them, making your way to the boss to deal damage. The Dark Realm does intercede, and both snake arms detach into minions to fight, but they're easy to deal with. Saito Yoshitatsu. Use as much electricity as you can on Saito. It's easy to stun him with it. The Kusarigama is also very good here since you can pull him in and pile on the damage. In terms of attacks, Saito utilizes ice attacks via one Guardian Spirit, which are telegraphed and easy enough to avoid, and shifts into yokai form to throw spinning projectiles, which are also easily avoided. You mostly need to dodge his normal weapon attacks since they deplete your ki quickly and avoid his throw, but otherwise, pelt him from a distance and victory should be yours. Mitsuki. Mitsuki is one of the first major yokai bosses you'll face. It spews ghostly projectiles and has some easy-to-read attacks. However, its damage is strong, along with a deceivingly long range. As long as you're keeping a good distance, weaving between its combos to deliver damage and dealing with his burst attacks, which are fairly easy to counter, it should go down. Just take it slow, especially since it's early and you won't be super strong. Atsai Nagamasa. You'll encounter Atsai Nagamasa once in the main mission Bird in a Cage, and again in the side mission Yakusha Returns. The fight is the same in both cases though, hence his ranking. When the battle starts, Atsai will sprout a single wing that can deflect your attacks. This means you can only get in 1 or 2 good attacks before he deflects the next. His slashes deal a fair bit of damage, so don't tank them. Atsai will summon water geysers and leap attack you often, which are both easy to see coming. Capitalize on the latter for some decent damage. Once he summons the Dark Realm, he'll fly up and launch projectiles while charging with his own burst attack. The latter can be burst countered, but you'll have more success avoiding it. Finally, beware of his grab, especially as his health goes down. William. Yes, the protagonist from Nioh 1 is a boss. That too in a main mission, the Blue-Eyed Samurai. Despite a mission level of 109, William isn't tough. His main weapons are the sword and spear, and he'll often use his Guardian Spirit to summon whirlpools which deal pitiful damage, and can just be walked out of. Burst countering him is easy, but even if you take your time and attack during any openings, the fight will be over before you know it. Kamaitachi. Incredibly quick and constantly on the move, Kamaitachi is a venerable whirlwind of anger. Found in the main mission, the mysterious One-Night Castle, it may be tough to find an opening, especially when it constantly keeps spin attacking and launching whirlwind slices. However, keep blocking and look for its 2-swipe tail whip combo. Avoid that and deal some damage. You also need to stay on the periphery of his attacks, just as he comes out of them to strike. His Dark Realm attacks see 2 summon clones that will fire whirlwind slashes, but this is easily avoided by just hanging back. The only really dangerous attack is his tail grab, which can pop up after the tail swipe, so be careful. Tatarimoke. Tatarimoke is fought in the main mission A Way Out. It flies slowly through the air, raining projectiles down and attacking with its wings, either with straight jabs or a spinning attack that can reach behind. While its wing attacks are pretty quick, they're reasonably telegraphed, so keep that in mind when fighting up close. Once the Dark Realm invades, immediately seek out the glowing red orb and destroy it to return things to normal. Tatarimoke's burst is a diving attack which can be burst countered, but has some iffy timing, so try to dodge it instead. Hattori Hanzo. Encountered in different dojo missions, wielding weapons like the spear and tonfa, Hattori Hanzo is an interesting fight. His combos aren't particularly crazy, and despite moving quickly, it's easy to drain his ki and follow up with finishers. The problem is his one special attack, which can be unleashed even if you're in the middle of striking. That will shave off 90% of your health. It's hard to predict when it will be used, so stay on your toes, keep the pressure on, and try not to get cornered. Obsidian Samurai. The Obsidian Samurai returns, but in the side mission A Formal Match. He's a heavy hitter, relying on a large 2-handed axe to chain attacks together. Sometimes he'll pull out a sword for an overhead slice that covers decent distance, but it's easy to see coming. The key is in striking from low and mid stance while staying on the move, dodging to the side of his thunder projectiles and AoE smash attack. The one real curveball is his lightning-based charge, but this can be avoided even if you have to feral form burst counter through it. Maeda Toshie. Fought in the main mission Ruin Draws Near, Maeda Toshie is one of the trickier spear wielders you'll face. His lunging attacks have very good reach, and his one twirling attack that leads you into a slash can be hard to dodge at first. Once you learn the timing on the ladder and dodge left or right, you should have an easier time. Of course, there are also the fireballs that his guardian spirit unleashes, which are admittedly slow, and the times where his spear will be on fire, so caution is advised. Tokichiro, first fight. Despite his innocuousness, the first fight with Tokichiro in the main mission The Two Faces of Hospitality can be challenging. He has a counterattack that can deal a lot of damage if you strike while his sword glows blue. He also applies a decent amount of buffs and dishes out some good combo damage. Though his guardian spirit is easy to avoid, Tokichiro likes to fire flames in a fan in front and ignite his blade for more damage. Near the fight's end, he'll pull out another sword covered in lightning, but you should be able to wrap things up before it becomes a problem. Shuten Doji. Though Shuten Doji doesn't have a counter like Tokichiro, dealing with his overhead attacks and AoE stomps can be tough. You also have to constantly be on the lookout for his fire hair spin attack, especially in the Dark Realm where it gains extra rotations. Doji's burst attack is easy to counter, and avoiding his fire breathing and projectiles in the Dark Realm isn't tough. The one real opening you'll find is where he executes a combo and then falls to the ground, allowing for some free hits. Hachisuka Kuroku, solo. Kuroko was fought prior to this encounter in the Shiftling's Wise Judgment submission. However, the High-Spirited Demon main mission sees you facing him solo, and he's much tougher. It starts out easy enough, even if his burst attack is easier to avoid than counter. He has decent range and key damage with the Kusarigama, nothing too crazy until the Dark Realm is summoned. Kuroko will start throwing bouncing water projectiles and summon Kamitachis that shoot whirlwinds. Hang back and stay out of the reach of his Kusarigama's grab. Use ranged attacks, and once the Dark Realm recedes, get in close for some combos. Anenra. One of the early bosses, Anenra is found in the Beast Born of Smoke and Flames. Like Mizuki, you won't have a lot of skills or powerful tools unlocked, and Anenra has a good amount of toughness to make this fight drag. The important thing is to avoid his slam attacks and kick, especially when he teleports to get behind you. Keep a good distance once he deploys fire bombs on the floor, which explode after a delay. He throws out some cyclones occasionally, which are avoided with ease, but his main burst attack, turning himself into a cyclone, can hurt you plenty. Burst counter it whenever possible. Onryoki. If you died aplenty to Onryoki in the first game, then you should be well equipped for this fight. However, even those with sufficient knowledge of his attacks need to be careful. Onryoki's spinning ball and chain attacks still deal crazy damage. Using high stance attacks with, say, the Odachi can stagger him and get to the next phase quickly. Beware his overhead sledge attack and burst attack. The latter is a combo, and each attack, which hurts a lot, must be countered separately. At least dodging his ball and chain isn't as bad as the first game. Oda Nobunaga. Though Nobunaga is nowhere near as difficult as the first game, he can still give you a tough time if you're careless. His normal attacks deal a good amount of damage, while overhead fire slash, where he grows slightly and then walks forward before slashing, deals strong damage. Nobunaga also summons meteors, which fall in random spots and can explode for lots of fire damage. At the very least, his fire slash waves are easy to block, and depleting his ki for finishers is easy due to his light armor. Hang back when his health falls, since he starts mixing in lightning with his fire attacks. Megara Naotaka, first fight. This icy killer is relentless with high-damaging attacks that can easily reduce your ki to nothing. Dodge these rather than blocking and hang back to fire projectiles. He'll unleash a slashing column of ice which can be easily avoided, and once he executes a sweeping attack, get behind and deal some damage. Once the Dark Realm intercedes, he'll follow up after the sweeping attack, so keep your distance and keep using projectiles until the phase ends. Though he does employ a slam, it's easy to avoid. It's the combo of sweeping attacks and a charging grab that you need to be careful of. Matsunaga Hinahide. Matsunaga Hinahide is a funny guy, having some good damage with his physical attacks and bombs. He also has a feint into a teleport, but this isn't too rough. So why is he ranked this high? Because of his burst attack, when he runs at you with a bomb and explodes. Countering this is very tricky, and it takes almost 70% of your health. Suffice it to say that your success in this fight is dependent on not heaving your controller into a wall while you figure out the timing. Kasha. You'll fight Kasha in the main mission The Frenzied Blade, and while she appears in 2 other side missions, her patterns and attacks remain the same. The overwhelming amount of fire she uses can be rough, and you need to attack her wheels instead of her body to weaken her, which is easier said than done since she has good reach and moves quickly. Using Feral Form is advised for countering her burst attacks, though it's easy to just pass right through her at times. Once the Dark Realm is summoned, try not to attack her from behind when she hits the wall, since she'll quickly turn around and retaliate. At some point, she'll summon some minions to aid her, but these are disposed easily enough. Use poison to keep up the pressure, and don't let her get behind you to avoid any serious damage. Daidarabaki. Daidarabaki is a massively imposing boss, ripping out a giant rock and causing the rubble from it to hit the arena. There are indicators denoting where said rubble will fall, but they can pile on the damage if you're not careful. Daidara's hand slam is even worse, causing crazy amounts of damage if you don't avoid it. The objective is to break the spirit stones in each hand and climb up to attack his weak point. This must be done several times, while he also shoots projectiles and lasers. Eventually, he'll summon the Dark Realm, which causes even more rocks to fall about, but otherwise, the process continues as before. Gyuki. Mechanics-wise, at least in the first phase, Gyuki is pretty straightforward. You need to get behind and destroy the spirit stones in his legs. Easy, right? Unfortunately, he has some very damaging AoE stomps. Blocking them drains all ki and leaves you open, while dodging must be done at the last second. After the stones are destroyed and the Dark Realm is summoned, you have to target his body. This is also tricky since you need to somehow get behind or to the side of his body to properly avoid his stomps. Oh, and he keeps moving and shifting, which makes getting into position difficult. Lady Osakabe. Your mileage for how annoying or difficult this fight can be will vary. Lady Osakabe hits you with projectiles and lasers from different directions, and it's easy to take a few hard hits. So in the midst of dodging all this, you need to target the different eyes attacking you with arrows or gunfire. While you can get close to hit the eyes, they tend to retaliate, if not venture outside melee range entirely. It's a weird balancing act, and the Dark Realm doesn't help matters. Mitsuki and Gotsuki, first fight. The first time you'll fight Mitsuki and Katsuki is in the side mission The Refined Man of the Underworld. The catch is that Katsuki is fought first, after clearing out regular enemies, and when close to death, Mitsuki will spawn in, so it's easy to defeat Katsuki and turn your attention to Mitsuki. The problem is that both bosses are still tough in their own right, and fighting them one after another is still a challenge. Honda Tadagatsu. Take an opportunity to shoot Honda in the head and then land a finishing blow, and this will give you a slight leg up in the fight. Flanking to the side of Honda when he throws rocks at you is the name of the game, since you can get some good damage in. But you have to be extremely careful of his spear attacks, which have powerful range and damage, especially since some are unblockable. It's also tricky at times to counter his burst attack, and if all of that weren't enough, he can summon lightning on top of you and heal when 2/3 of his life is gone. Ryomen Sukuna. Ryomen Sukuna is 2 forms combined into one boss with some aggravating combos. The red form is all about melee attacks and chucking fire. The blue form utilizes a bow and can track you incredibly well even while you're dashing for massive damage. You need to fight the red form as much as possible, baiting attacks and trying to dodge the duo spinning charge before retaliating. Use the spear and odachi, but also hang back and chuck poison projectiles when possible. You also need to be careful when the red form attacks while the blue form is shooting arrows, since it's possible to get caught off guard and take a beating. Once again, all of this doesn't help when the Dark Realm limits your ki recovery. Kashin Koji. A spellcaster above all, Kashin Koji likes to bring down poison that accumulates in pools around the battlefield and shoot ghostly projectiles. If you get close, he'll summon lightning around him and then attack with a giant frost blade, which can be burst countered easily enough. So far so good, but when the Dark Realm is summoned, Koji starts using his sword for some dangerous combos. At times, he'll summon a clone that uses a fire wave while he follows up with a combo. At one point, 4 clones are summoned to slice you at once, and Koji can even teleport to strike from above while you're in the middle of a combo. It takes some time given his tactics, so don't worry even when he summons a bunch of clones when near death. Mitsuki and Kotsuki, second fight. Mitsuki and Kotsuki will both attack at once in the main mission The Golden Castle, which can be fairly chaotic if you try to take them head on. Hang back when possible, avoiding Mitsuki's range, and try to focus on Kotsuki. Burst counter his attacks and beat him down, but be mindful of Mitsuki's positioning, especially since he can still fire projectiles. The Dark Realm presents a very real threat, so back off if things get too hairy and continue fighting both foes. After Kotsuki dies, focus on Mitsuki for the win. Tokichiro, second fight. Tokichiro returns for a rematch in the main mission Cherry Blossom Viewing in Daigo. Unfortunately, he's tougher, starting off with 2 swords, one with fire and the other lightning. His combos and attacks can be devastating, and their range is nothing to scoff at. He'll eventually have both swords on fire and summon the Dark Realm to dish out lots of fire attacks. If there's one consolation, it's that his burst attack is easily countered. Megara Naotaka, second fight. Megara Naotaka is no slouch on his own, but in the Brothers Blade side mission, you also have to face a Revenant. The Revenant will appear once some of Megara's health is gone, constantly chasing you as Megara either attacks from afar with his slash waves or closes in with sweeps. Using light armor to constantly stay on the move is important, and you need to take down Megara first before dealing with the Revenant. Again, easier said than done, but once you find the right openings and kite the Revenant accordingly, it's doable. Saika Maguichi. Another boss returning from the first game, Saika is found in the main mission Pervading Waters. He's a wily one, moving quickly and firing off shots with his gun when he's not using fire slashes. His sword attacks deal crazy amounts of damage, so baiting attacks, following up with damage, and backing off is important. Eventually, he'll start flying in the air and can either shoot or grab you multiple times. Avoid him as much as possible in this state and try to knock him down. Countering his burst attacks is rough since they're unpredictable. Plus, he'll create some fireballs that will move towards you while he attacks. Avoiding the fireballs is about going in another direction entirely, so focus on evading when he starts up the move. Katsui Shibata, second fight. Who could have believed that Shibata would come back as one of the toughest, most annoying bosses in the game? Now a full-fledged yokai in the main mission Ruin Draws Near, Shibata loves to charge at you for massive damage. He's constantly charging about, and in the Dark Realm he'll slam down his axes to create whirlpools of fire. He also has a burst attack, which leads into a combo, but countering this is thankfully easy. The problem with this fight is in addition to the sheer amount of damage that Shibata can deal, he has a good amount of health and switch-ups. At one point, he'll throw both axes out to circle around him, making it tough to get close. Another burst attack involves slamming both axes down for a huge explosion. It's one thing after another, and he never lets up. Otakimaru. Congratulations, you've reached the final boss of Nioh 2. Prepare to die more than ever. Otakimaru has 3 main phases. In the first phase, he'll switch between feral, phantom, and brute forms, each with their own burst attacks. Moving and striking quickly is key, but you should also load up on talismans for extra survivability. In the second phase, you'll have to deal with a burst attack that's almost impossible to counter. Several heavy sword hits, ice spears, the Dark Realm, and water puddles that can easily kill you when staying still. If you survive all of that, then Otakimaru summons 2 swords that float around him. These can either lock on and insta-kill you or grapple you for massive damage. Blocking is almost useless in this phase, and you also need to deal with all of his previous attacks in addition to the floating swords. Keep it up and hopefully, maybe, you'll defeat Otakimaru. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.